Milwaukee M18 fuel chainsaw. I just cut this whole pile of wood here, and all I used on this was the little 4 amp hour XC battery, almost the smallest one they have. I got through. Take a look at this. I don't know if you can see that, but I still have 2 bars left on there. Started with a full charge. This tree was laying all the way across this path, had it completely blocked off with about 3-4 big branches. I got it all cut up and tossed over to the side here. This is my first real use with the saw, and I have to say, I am real happy with this. I'm impressed for doing this with a little battery like that. I'm just cutting one-handed. I don't have a cameraman, but just to give you an example. A little addendum here. I wanted to say that, well, this thing cuts just as fast as my gas saw, if not faster, which is also really impressive. And I believe my other saw, I have 2 others. I have a Husqvarna, not sure on the size of that, and a steel, which I think is the 049. Not one of the little tiny ones. It's not the big one. It's like in between. But this is at least as fast, if not faster. It's lighter, and one of the real nice things with this is when you let go of the trigger, it stops. It's done. You're not sitting around idling with the chain drifting around or anything like that. You're done cutting, you set it down. You're not wasting power, gas, anything. It uses when you cut it. When you shut it off, it's off. Much safer in that regard, because you can just set it to the side. You can pick up your brush, throw it around, and when you're ready to do another cut, just pick it up and go. There's no hassle at all. No jerking the chain trying to pull start the thing. Just pull the trigger and go. So previously, I showed this saw cutting some pretty soft, rotten wood from a tree that fell down on my other property. This time, this is maple, and it's fairly fresh. It just broke off in a storm this spring, so it's quite hard. It's definitely not rot. It's still got leaves on it, in fact. So let's see how it does in maple. I'm still using the 4 amp hour batteries here. I do have some 12s coming. I was buying them from a friend. He's delayed on it for a bit. But I've got 3 of these 4s, and actually I'm surprised how well it does just with the little 4s. I'm going to cut a little bit here, and then we'll go on to the big stuff. With the little batteries, I do like to give them a rest every little bit because they tend to overheat with this. It does draw a lot of current. That's why it really should have the 12 amp hour, at least something close to it. But they will do the job. You just got to give them a break every little bit to cool down. Yeah, going to do a little more of the little stuff here. I've been using this for a little bit. Most of it wasn't on camera. Overall, I'm very happy with it. The only issue that I have had with this, and others have mentioned it, is it does have a tendency to derail. It will not do it in big wood. But if you're doing little twiggy stuff like this, it can tend to grab and pull the chain off. If it snaps, it's generally going to be alright, though it still could do it. The worst is like alders, where it's really tough stuff and it's almost like trying to cut a cable. That will yank that chain right off of there, so don't use it on alders. But anything over 1 inch in diameter, it'll work fine on. Okay, so I started with a fresh battery, and I don't know if we can see this in the light here. Sun's going to be in the way here. So I'm down to 2 lights now, so halfway down on the battery. So as I said, this is just a little tiny battery. It's really way too small for this saw. And I'm still getting a fair bit done with it. If I had the big battery, this would go, I'd probably be able to cut, I'd say a good 2/3 of this tree up with one battery. And I've got 2 that I'm supposed to be getting. So if you get one of these, I do absolutely recommend get the 12 amp hour or at least the 8 amp hour. One of the things that, with batteries is the faster you draw the current from them, the quicker they deplete their energy, not just the total energy. How do I describe it? If you have 12 amp hours, that 12 amp hours is at what they call a low C rate, or a low amperage draw. If you draw it at a high amperage, you're going to get less than 12 amp hours out of it. So like this is a 4 amp hour battery, but at the rate that I'm drawing it, I'm probably lucky if I get 3 amp hours out of that battery. Whereas with a little drill that draws much less current than this, I'm going to get pretty close to the 4 amp hours it's rated for. So that's why on a big tool like this, you want a big battery, not just for the sake of having more runtime, but it's easier on the battery and you'll get more usage out of the battery. The amp hours you put in, like having, they make a 6 amp hour battery. If you use 2 6 amp hour batteries, you're going to have less runtime than you will with one 12 amp hour battery, because you're working each of those batteries harder during the time that it's being run. If that makes any sense. So let's see if we can get a little more out of this. It's actually recovered a little bit. I'm up to 3 lights now just from letting it sit. So I think we can get a few more cuts out of this, and let's see what we got. Move the camera a little bit. So I am beginning to feel it a little bit. It's losing a little bit of its power now as the battery's starting to run down. But as I said, this is the little battery. Okay, so that's basically the end right there. But this is very hard wood. This is hard maple. It's still pretty green, which makes it even harder. For the little tiny 4 amp hour battery, I'm not going to complain on that. And as I said, I think with the 12 amp hour, it would do almost this whole tree. Just to show how green this really is, it's still attached up there at a little bit of it, and well, after the summer here, you can see this is still trying to grow. That's fresh green leaves where it's trying to grow up straight up here. Here's another one up here growing out the side. So if this was allowed to sit like this would probably grow a new branch here and keep going for a bit. Here's where it broke off, and it's getting just enough through there to keep a little life in it, but you know, that's not going to be much more because I'm cutting it up. If you've made it this far, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and found it entertaining or educational. If so, please consider hitting like or subscribe. It does help give me incentive to continue producing more. Thank you.